Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is Captain Ditto, and episode 4 of What's Wrong in Today's Age and Society. Now, of course, I haven't uploaded another episode of this in over, I want to say, like a year and a half by now, almost 2 years. So, yeah, I can understand. A lot of people are kind of like, wow, you finally are back with this. But to be fair, I didn't really have any ideas until now. And now I've actually sat down to get a recording going. So, hey, there's that as the plus side. Excuse me. But a lot of people might be also wondering, what exactly is the title, or what exactly is this podcast? If episode 4 is your first episode, a viewing pleasure, that's fine. Basically, I'll explain or describe or whatever um what this is. Basically, this podcast series is me looking at problems I see within our society, calling out what exactly is the problems and explaining it down into further detail to the best of my ability, and then a few solution offers, like offers to create a solution to it. Do I think I'm the best in any of these fields? No, 100% not. Most of the time, I'm just talking right out of where. But it's much more better to acknowledge that there was a problem than just letting it fester. So, I mean, there's that. And on top of that, the main thing I try to do is stay out of sensitive topics when it comes down to this podcast series, because the first thing a lot of people would say for this podcast, for a podcast series, is like this: oh, what's wrong with society is because of insert this thing of politics, or insert this thing about minorities, or insert this thing about how people apparently can't keep bleh, 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 about like how people can't seem to keep their doors closed with a 12 lock or something like that. I don't know. Doors. Or they don't know how to stop smacking their lips on the school bus or some stupid crap like that. Like, when we talk about this stuff or the topics, I usually do my best to not bring in politics or um other sensitive stuff like minorities, like BLM or LGBTQ, or like other current world events such as wars over in the Middle East, or whatever. So I don't like to talk about that, and unless I believe that they might be brought up in the conversation or the topic, I will bring them up. But that is not the main, you know, thing to use as a topic. They're just there as like a quick, okay, here's this. I guess somebody might either A, ask about this, or B, I might need to make an answer about this to the defense or whatever, and then just quickly move on, because I'm not advocating for like anything realistically. I'm just trying to keep things down to a very basic neutral stance level. But yeah, other than that, and I'm pretty sure everyone is very interested in wondering of the title about about why I basically stated that for this episode it is the gaming industry. And immediately a lot of people are going to thinking that video games are the problem. Trust me, video games are not the problem. All right, they're not the problem within our society. I believe video games actually has been a very good help for our society, and there's been like some research and stuff like that to describe the good amount of things video games do. Like it has you have a quicker reaction time, I believe. Well, if you're gonna play a game like Doom Eternal, you're gonna need fast reaction time, anyways. And other things like good hand-eye coordination, motion control, critical thinking, and quick amount of times frames. If you were to play like a very high-paced strategy game or something like that, it's very it's there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff about video games. But I feel like what is wrong today's Age and Society episode being about the gaming industry is something I'm going to do really well at in talking, because if you haven't seen my channel before, I am a video editor and I make videos of me playing video games and other stupid shenanigans like skits. I have yet to do an actual skit and post it here on YouTube, but for the public, but I have done some skits for school projects, and those were pretty good. Anyhow, so we might as well go on ahead and get right into the meat and potatoes. What exactly do I think and believe is wrong with our gaming infrastructure or industry? Well, first of all, I think I'm gonna have to put in the a main elephant in the room is gonna be modern gaming. And there's a difference between modern gaming and the older gaming. And I'm not saying everything in modern gaming is bad. No, not saying that at all. There's a lot of games that have came out recently of today of 2024 that are pretty good. They are pretty good. Some games had a few rough launches. Some other pre-existing live service games had pretty good updates added to them. Um, and mainly in general, there's been a lot of cool stuff throughout, and not just this year, but a lot of throughout the year or two beforehand. So there's not a whole lot of bad when it comes down to the modern gaming, but there's a lot of issues modern gaming that it still provides. I think one of the issues of gaming in general has become with the gaming infrastructure is that they are much more on leaning it towards being influencing people, influencing people. Yeah, they're much more influencing people rather than actually making a product. I mean, to be fair, they're kind of making much more of a big money, get rich type of scheme thing to begin with, rather than actually making something for good creative practices. I'll use Activision slash Call of Duties here as a thing. Activision is the parent company that owns the Call of Duty franchise, and a lot of people would recognize that they will usually say the older Call of Duties are better because it actually feels fun to play. First off, obviously, and secondly, it actually was much more of a creativity rather than just milking $70 from you every year. And I agree with them on that stance. I do. I mean, like a lot of people say the last good COD game was Black Ops 2, and I don't know if I can agree with them on that since I never played during the Prime days on that. But I definitely know for a fact that if like from the gameplay clips I've seen and everything, because I can't play now these days because it's overran with hackers. Then yeah, like I can 100% agree with that. Comparing the gameplay clips of Black Ops 2 to any other Call of Duty, I can 100% agree with that. And it just feels much more of a missing of like direction of making a good creative project. I feel like what was the game that was canceled this year? I'm trying to remember now. Like immediately within like the first 2 weeks. I think it was called Concord. Yeah, Concord from Sony. Concord released, and then within like 10 days, I think it got shut down immediately because of how horrible um the game bled out of how many players it bled out, and like how like nobody was really wanting to play the game or buy it in the first place because it just looked horrible. um yeah, that's that's perfectly line show showcase example. But when it goes down to like other stuff, I feel like sometimes like there is also a good amount of creativity used in the gaming infrastructure. One of the first person shooter games I've been playing as of late has been X Defiant. And X Defiant is, again, it was made by Ubisoft, so, as we all know, boo. Um, but I don't understand about why, like, a lot of people don't like X Defiant either. I mean, it's a very good, fast paced game. It has, like, zero skill based matchmaking, so if you're bad at first person shooters, prepare to get thrown around the place. That's what I'm gonna say. But honestly, I don't understand how about this. But I feel like there's a lot of good creativity that's been put into the game. Like they had you can search this up, but they have steampunk actually. Believe it or not, the outfits so far they have for steampunk, it looks cool. They have a steampunk skin for the AK-47 for their season 2 battle pass as like tier 90, the last reward you can get, and it looks amazing. I'm a huge sucker for steampunk, honestly, so that's probably like I like it a lot. But the designs are pretty cool though, and like in the middle of the pass, around like tier 45, maybe 50. I'm not. Yeah, I think it's 50. They had like an assault rifle that looks like it's completely out of the Stone Age. Like you even like break the magazine clip thing off and then put like a new stone up or like a new stone forms out of it or something like that. It looks really cool, and there's like little like stone bone claws that are like figuring up and down. Like that stuff kind of looks really cool and amazing. And even though it's a cosmetic in the game, it does show out the case, a lot of good amount of creativity, you know, where it's much more of an artistic value rather than, being a not so artistic value compared to like what is it like this year's Call of Duty for Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I don't know. I understand this kind of sounds like I'm just trashing on this FPS shooter versus this FPS shooter or whatever. Why am I saying FPS shooter? FPS means first person shooter. I'd be saying first person shooter. Chai means tea. Are you trying to say you're saying TT? Sorry. If anybody didn't get that joke, that you guys gotta watch um Across the Spider-Verse. If you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, you should probably watch that first, but I'm getting off topic. Basically, like I looked at the game and I'm like, okay, what exactly is this? All it is just it just feels like to me like it's supposed to it just feels like black, orange, and very dark green for some reason. That's what I see of the game. The art direction, I mean, it's a standard art direction, the creative storyline plot of the game, and this has been recorded before the game actually has come out, but I think it's like a week. We got 1 week left to launch. The game launches. The entire plot direction of the main story is the truth lies. That's it. And I've been a hypocritical, not hypocritical. No, I've been kind of like really like mad about that's the only story thing we get because that's the entire plot of the story is the truth lies. Because are you saying lies are now the truth? Like, what are you playing at, guys? You know what else lies? A lie. Okay, don't forget it. But yeah, and I think my second thing is that most corporations, or just like the gaming corporations themselves, they're much more focused on making, well, believe it or not, the gaming infrastructure like worse overall because they've been too much busy with a chase for profits. In fact, if I remember correctly, what was it? Ubisoft. Yeah, Ubisoft made Star Wars Outlaws, and Star Wars Outlaws is basically a joke. It's supposed to be an open world game where you play as a character who is trying to be a smuggler or a bounty hunter against the Galactic Empire, and like on the hardest difficulty, it's it still feels like you're playing the game on easy. This is coming from them trying to say it's like the best immersional experience. Bro, I could probably launch up what was it? Force Awakens. No, not Force Awakens. Force Unleashed. I could probably like open Force Unleashed real quick, play through like the first level, and that on easy mode. And that game will forever be much more difficult than the hard mode for Outlaws. All right. Yeah. On top of that, it didn't sell a whole lot. What do you know? It turns out to be a really bad game, really bad story, with a really bad difficulty. Even on its hardest difficulty, people are not gonna want to play it a whole lot. And they're saying that the reason why it's failure is because, well, I actually need to pull up the article for this real quick because I don't want to like misquote on Ubisoft here. All right. Let's see here. Uh, I can't exactly find. I'm trying to find it. I have to rely on Google AI right now. That's not great. All right. I'm trying to find the article saying about like Ubisoft stating uh trying to figure out, but basically, if I remember correctly from what I could see from articles, because I can't find any articles right now, or maybe I'm not putting in the same keywords. Basically, Ubisoft was like blaming the gamers for like its bad sales when the fact that it was just a bad game to begin with. I mean, it's like the same thing with what is it? Like people getting like super mad when there's like a uh how do I say this without trying to, like, cross the very one rule I set up for this stuff? Right. Okay. I think the best way to cross this rule is just saying it as like I said as an example. So basically, it's like the same thing where people are like, "Oh, it's the gamer's fault for our game failing," when it's realistically like your fault for the game failing. Okay. I don't understand. It's like the same type of people who say a video game is ruined when like a collaboration comes in to the video game and it's the IP you don't like. Like a lot of people said, "Oh, great, The Walking Dead's ruined now because it collaborated with Fortnite." And a lot of people actually, and if it isn't that, then it's like whatever is going on. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, I need to boycott Call of Duty because there's a pride flag in there," and they all gone woke. Oh no, the woke mind virus, or whatever. And obviously, like I'm just making jokes here. I don't really care if you don't want to play a game for those reasons. It's your choice. It's your time. Don't really care. Like I said, I'm just using it as an example. But also, I am gonna say I don't understand why in the gaming industry it just feels more like in the gaming industry we got more companies worried about uh what's the word I'm looking here for? They're looking much more on, like I said, an influential line of thinking, which is really, really bad. Thinking about it now. Well, not thinking about it now, it is really bad. Because, well, there's like a lot of bad things in the gaming industry that actually can harm a lot of society, believe it or not. And I think one of the main things is that you just feel a lot of pressure, like if you're playing a video game. I mean, anybody in my audience, if you're like, a kid, if you're a kid, then I'm surprised you're watching this. And if you're like, a teen, or if you're like someone, or you're like a early adult, or late stage adult, or even whatever elders, like if you play video games, you would know. Most people around, like most early adults or late adults, and maybe even a few elders, who do play video games, they would notice the difference between back then of those games versus the today of games. Because back then you didn't have to. All you had to worry was sit down, you play the game, you had a good time, you like had a blast, you talked with your friends about it and everything around the time of the game. Now these days you got to worry about if you can max out this battle pass, so you could start playing this game and max out the event rewards they have during the time. Well, there's another game busy right now bashing your head in because you want to get like a certain skin, but it's going to be gone within the next 24 hours unless you pay for it now. You know, and then after, and even if you don't have like all those like interests or things like screaming at your ears, then you have like just trying to play a simple game and you're getting infuriated because you got people out here believing they'll make it big playing like game sports, uh and sweating in public lobbies for some stupid reason instead of playing an arena, or a competitive game mode. And then you also have people trying to be very not very like toxic about just like how some people just don't like do this certain thing, or they're not perfect at the game. And then finally you got the entirety of the systems like skillless matchmaking or engagement optimization matchmaking, just throwing you in and whatever, trying to see to keep you playing the game as long as you can, as like an addiction. Yeah, I needed to get that stim shot of playing. Well, what game would be the perfect way to make fun of this? What game have I not thought of to make fun of this with yet? It would be, yeah, you just need like your quick stim shot of like Overwatch 2 gameplay real quick and just go completely ballistic, or else, because you can't, because unless you get like a good few kills with what, Sebastian or something, or no, he's a tank. I don't really know the classes in the game. I think Sebastian is a tank. If you don't like do a really good job of pushing up payload as Sebastian, um, then like you're gonna feel like absolute crap. And I feel like that is actually much more, and that's gonna like have a longer lasting effect, because then you got much more stressed out about stuff you shouldn't be stressed out about. And I'm gonna say right now, kids these days, they don't understand how to not be stressed out about video game items or currency. They don't know better. You can't realistically blame them. I can't realistically blame them. I try to guide them away from that stuff, but that's the best I can do. I can only guide them. And it sucks that that's the best I can do, but, oh well. But when it comes to, like, adults and stuff, we are even, like, targeted by this stuff because, like, oh yeah, we've been around with this thing for a while, so why shouldn't we? Like, hey, that seems like a good steal. All you gotta do is invest in a little bit of time, and then you don't play the game for a bit, and now you're stressing out like crazy because now you're gonna, like, lose your items you spent on and everything. And but besides, like, if it encourages you to stay more at home than actually going out and do stuff. To be fair, I mean, going out and do stuff has not been really that great either. Like, what was the last biggest thing that we all, like, communities were brought together by doing stuff outside? Pokemon Go. And I'm not saying Pokemon Go is bad. Trust me, Pokemon Go is pretty good. But that's the last thing I think, like, everybody actually became, like, an outdoors community was because of Pokemon Go, which is very ironic. But yeah. So, with all these predatory systems put in place, what would be the best way to help out with society and, like, eliminating down their flaws? Well, first of all, fear of missing out. That has always been a thing in society, and gaming has monetized it. Well, any company has realistically monetized it, but gaming in our media industry right now has monetized it to such a fact that unless you, like, stay glued to your screen for a good amount of time, for, like, a required amount of hours, then you're not going to get the items you want. You're not going to be able to get the items you want, or the items that you really do like, because you find it a little bit interesting, and then you waste like $10 getting it, and now you're afraid you're going to waste that $10 because you didn't complete the battle pass or something like that. And then obviously there's the daily rotational shops. You don't know what's going to be coming next, and you don't know if it's going to stay around for after this rotation shop. Sometimes it won't. And it really sucks because then, like, you kind of need to, like, because then you're going to be much more spent on impulse buying. And trust me, impulse buying is the last thing we need to do. All right? Because if you're trying to, like, save up money, you don't want to develop a habit of impulse buying. I'm actually right now trying to break out of that habit myself. And I've actually been doing a really good job of breaking out of that habit. But honestly, we just got to get rid of fear of missing out systems. And I'm to understand, but, like, microtransactions, and, like, it's the best way for free service online games to make money. Live service games that you can play for free. To make money, we need those microtransactions. Excuse me. And, like, I get it. Yeah, I get it. But do you really gotta make somebody, like, force down the fact that they just can't, like, they're disappointed they can't do something because of their financial circumstance at the time? Like, that's not a cool thing to do. And that's not a cool thing to do to anybody. And also with the entirety of, like I said, the stress that they may not be able to get, like, certain stuff. Like, yeah, it's an effective strategy because, like, it makes you keep coming back to play the game, so you have a much more higher chance of buying more items and wasting more money on the game. Honestly, like, it's a much more destructive habit because, again, like, you're going to start caring too much for things you shouldn't be caring for. What's even worse, I think, is the fact alone is how the environment of the gaming infrastructure has created as of late. Because if the gaming industry, it's not just the games they're making, it's about how they can also have a huge influence on the influencers onto the people. Now, you may be confused on why I'm saying something like that. Basically, what I believe is that if a gaming company, I'll probably just use Call of Duty here for the best example. If Activision has, like, a tournament or whatever for their Call of Duty series, and they have, like, an entire arena competitive thing going on, then they just, work with that. And then you're like, okay, cool, here's prize pool. And you'll have these people in here competing against each other. These, like, pretty high top players competing against each other in the first-person shooter space, specifically, like I said, Call of Duty. And they are pretty successful. They stream constantly, nonstop, every day. They constantly make sure that they're at the top of their game, no matter what. And they just do nothing but just, constantly get better at the game. And when they get to that tournament, they wind up winning the prize pool. Somebody walks out winning out. Somebody or a team or that one team winds up walking out with that prize pool. And like that's not bad of a thing to think about, because like that's kind of like how sports work all the time anyways, like Olympic sports or like, high cash pool prize sports. I'm not saying that's like a bad thing, but the issue is that you have these people who are doing this stuff, like like basically painting it as like the only way to make it out in life, which is horrible. Like, I was watching a video about this type of topic. I think the guy was called like Scotty McGaming. Basically, like he was talking about like the entire problem about influencers and their toxic behavior. And by toxic behavior, he actually means like how they are treating how they're influencing their fans is in a very toxic mind state. And he says like some people are like very concerned about how they play a video game. Like it's not for, and they're like punishing themselves for not being good. Like some people believe that they're and it may sound stupid, but a lot of people generally believe, well, not a lot of people, a lot of kids, and probably some like misguided people and teens believe that your kill death ratio clarifies your position skill set in life, which is really sad to think about, honestly. And instead of like, lessening down on all of this stuff, influencer and gaming industries are like, no, 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 no. We got to keep ramping it up, because if they feel like nothing and all they can do is play this and they'll play more of this video game, therefore we can make more money. And that's really bad. That's really bad, because like the last thing you want is somebody that has a low self-esteem. That's horrible. And that's horrible for our society. If you're running around with a bunch of people with low self-esteem and if you go around with like low self-esteem, allowing other people with low self-esteem, there's not like a whole lot of like you believe in yourself mentality, and there's not a whole lot of people who have also good believe in yourself mentality. And if y'all don't believe in yourself, then like y'all can but none y'all can't do anything. Y'all can't get anything done. And like sure, you can get stuff done because then you're forced to. You're not doing it with a passion anymore. And that's like a bit of an issue, because killing off somebody's passion isn't great, and making somebody have like zero self-esteem isn't great as well, because that affects, like I said, their very real ways of how they do things, of how they work and how they communicate and stuff. If they're in the mindset that if their KD ratio is not above a 2.0, then they suck at life, because their only good thing is at a video game and they're not even good at that, which is actually really depressing and a mindset. And sure, I mean, a lot of people could be like, well, they're just, soft, or they're just not understanding the real world and they need to wake up. But the issue is like, being extra hard on them like that is not going to cause a solution either. So now you got people with low self-esteem issues because they believe video games are the matters of life, and you got people who are being incredibly rude and not being empathetic to these people. And now we got a whole situation where these people are hated by who believe that are being hated by other people in society. And what is the point of continuing back out into a society group where you're going to be shamed and shunned for like, having feelings? You're going to want to go back to the only place you feel safe. And the only place you feel safe is like a toxic relationship. It's like you keep getting back with your ex, and they're crazy, but you keep doing it because nobody else is looking for a date in your area. So you're like, okay, I mean, or not like, no, not like that. No, it's more like you have a crazy ex you keep going back to, and not because there's nobody available to date in your area. It's because like one person because you went to go try to get a new date, and they said no. Like they rejected you, and not because like there's anything bad with you. It's just because they just didn't want to date right now. They just didn't want to date right now, but they'd be 100% up for it later. And you go back to your toxic ex because, well, I mean, I know that they're toxic and I know they're not good for me, but it's better than just being told no to my face about not getting like another chance at a relationship. Like, come on, dude. Really? That's kind of like I see with a lot of this stuff, because that's what a lot of people are kind of forced into, this ideology. And it's even worse because this ideology is even like worse than down by the fact again by, the gaming industry. Because now all of a sudden competition is considered a bad thing on top of that. I'm not gonna, like I could probably explain on an entirely different factor on, you know, criticism being like a bad, you know, criticism, and nobody has that anymore. And like that could be that's a entire topic for a different discussion on a different day. However, I do think the lack of criticism people have to take the said criticism also applies here with, you know, competition. Because I think it's one thing I've noticed in the game industry, there is like zero competition, like for anything these days. Like if a new game comes out that rivals a pre-existing games and like shakes its foundation, then like a lot of people, instead of like seeing it as good competition and being happy that there's good competition, they go out and try to do their best to kill the competition because they're afraid that only one can survive. When in reality, there's been games that have been like what's the word I'm looking for, coexisting for as long as time had a name, basically, before, you know, we got to today's modern industry. We had the Burnout games and we had Need for Speed games. Burnout did not replace Need for Speed, and Need for Speed did not replace Burnout. They both are very good racing games with very good niches. Need for Speed was much more of your main like style racing, and Need for Speed, not for Need for Speed, for Burnout was much more of your chaotic style of racing. You wanted where people play dirty against each other. And then you have other games, like you had Stuntman Ignition. You wanted to do like a racing against time while pulling up movie stunts. You had that game. And guess what? You could also do some online multiplayer. You can race other players whilst also doing those same stunts. And another game that has you doing those types of stunts is Split Second. It is a racing game where you can do these things called power plays. And these power plays basically cause explosions to happen. And these explosions can take out other opponents, and if you're unlucky and wind up messing up your timing, it will also take you out. And it's not just explosions either. It's like a crane malfunctioning or entire like bridge collapses or something else like that. And that stuff's pretty cool, honestly. In fact, I've been playing through that Split Second game. Now, do I think that because of the cool action pact of the racing game of Split Second, do I think it rivals Stuntman Ignition? No. Sure, they're similar, but like they're both really good games. It's not like I can say, oh, Split Second is extremely good and you can't play, you know, Stuntman Ignition, or Stuntman Ignition is like god tier of stunt relating racing games, and Split Second is trash and you should never play it. And the same thing, like Burnout is an amazing game, and same thing with Need for Speed. Sure, they kind of stopped doing Burnout, but I still think Need for Speed kind of needs like another racing competition, and we have other racing competitions against Need for Speed. We had Forza for a while. We had then we also had The Crew for a bit. We even got GTA because most of what people do in GTA anyways is the races. Let's be honest here. Sure, you could say, oh, but you know, it's about like being a gang and a thug. Like I played GTA Online for like I think like a week straight. And all I did was like do a few missions, got me enough money, stole me a car, modified the car to be like much more armored, to be like a such a cool color, a nice black, midnight purple color, and then just like bought my own little house, a whole support for like two cars out of a garage, and logged off and never touched the game ever again. I'm dead serious. I have never touched GTA Online or GTA 5 ever again since at that point. Because I just didn't really like fighting the game that fun. I didn't find the races too fun either. But that's just me. You know, that's just me. But again, like a lot of people are having this entire mentality that only like one game can exist in this area. A lot of people, believe it or not, actually hate XDefiant because it's a rival against Call of Duty. Call of Duty is an arcade first-person shooter, and XDefiant is more of a, again, arcade first-person shooter. It has like some hero abilities, but and passives to the class of the characters you pick, but it's mainly at its core fundamental gameplay compared to Call of Duty is you aim down your gun and you shoot people. Same thing with Call of Duty. You aim down your gun and you shoot people. And then everything else is so you gotta move to certain different areas, you gotta avoid gunfire, you gotta shoot first before the other person kills you. You know, yada yada. And a lot of people actually dislike XDefiant, at least if you're a COD fan. A lot of people in that group dislike XDefiant, believe the game should be shut down because they're scared it's going to kill COD. When reality, or in reality, the X Fine should exist because Call of Duty, because with competition, and this is a quote from Gabe Newell, so I could probably butcher it here, but Gabe Newell, who is the CEO and founder of Valve and Steam, by the way, when he was asked about Epic Games having their own storefront to rival Steam, which is Valve's storefront for digital purchases and games. Gabe Newell stated that competition keeps us honest with our consumers. I cannot speak today. But yeah, competition keeps us honest with our consumers. And competition, believe it or not, actually improves. Like, here's how I think of it. If you're gonna run down a track marathon, or if you're going to go to a Super Smash Brothers tournament or whatever, you're gonna have a little bit of competition when you do anything like that. And the thing you want to do with this competition is you want to beat it. And you can't do that unless you get better. If you wind up losing that tournament, or you'd wind up being a minute late on the track against the guy you're trying against a minute late than what you really wanted your time, you just go grr, this timer is broken, and grr, this game is stupid. No. You go sit down, you're yeah, I get my butt handed to me. I should probably just train and get a bit better. I should improve myself so I can do better. And that's what competition really is. A nice friendly competition versus, a very negative competition. And I'm not trying to see everything as a friendly competition. Now, a lot of people could say, and I know this for a fact, a lot of people in my own friend group would say I'm being hypocritical because I get really mad when I die and stuff in Call of Duty or Fortnite. And yeah, that's true. I have a few anger management issues. And also, I just don't feel like I just want to get better at a video game just to prove something. But also, why am I still getting mad at losing the said video game? I really don't even know at this point, and I wish I did. Probably it's some psychological effect order that I believe that I have to be good at the game in order to be praised, despite them saying that they don't care about my skill. I still feel like I am subconsciously having to be good and skilled to prove myself that I am good at a game. I don't know. You could say, I don't know. You could clue it off as trauma, or you could clue it off as how participation trophies has ruined my brain, despite me never playing sports. Well, I mean, technically speaking, I guess there's skill-based matchmaking if you want to blame that. But basically, to my original point, though, I see it more as it should be a friendly competition instead of bad competition. There's no such thing as bad competition. Unless, the competition is, evil versus good. And people want to support the evil. Well, it's the best... I can't figure out what the best example of this was. It's Infinity Superb against Differsmirt's evil corporation. It's if they were on a competition against, Dexter's Laboratory. Now, I understand that this kind of sounds stupid, considering Dexter's Lab is a hidden secret. But just imagine if Dexter just grew up here for a second and he had a huge massive factory and he's rivals with Doofenshmirtz evil corporation. And people who would rather prefer to be with Doofenshmirtz in the tri-state area rather than Dexter, who's actually making inventions for good. Meanwhile, he's making inventions to take over the tri-state area. So that's kind of what I call a bad oh crap, I'm trying to remember what it was called. Competition, bad competition. But a good or friendly competition is something I see more of. Sure, we want to take down X-Fight. Oh yeah, we want to take down Call of Duty. And that's very negative key tones, but we all know they're not going to take each other out. That's not going to end up happening because people are much more liking this game, and a lot of people are much more liking this game. The issue is that now these days with media industries is because, well, if they're busy playing this game, then why should they even bother playing our game? We gotta kill off any other game so they can only play on our game. We gotta own the market. And that's kind of where all this entire competition means that only one can survive. When realistically, competition means both gotta improve to survive. It's not about, oh, we gotta kill this competition or else we're not going to have our game anymore. It's much more if your game refuses to adapt and get better, then it is going to die. And you may be wondering, Captain, what does this got to do with our society? Because you're kind of rambling on about this. And I get it. I understand. My apologies about my rambling. But the same thing still applies. Because, like, think about it here for a second. If you're stuck in the mindset that only, like, one certain way or thing can be done, then you're never going to be open up to new ideas. And the issue of not being open up to new ideas is that you also can close the door for a lot of, new opportunities. I mean, you heard about like a new ice cream shop that just came into town, and no, not a new ice cream shop. No, you had like heard about like Dairy Queen. You heard about Dairy Queen. You never tried any Dairy Queen, and for the longest time, you're like, well, one day I do want to try Dairy Queen, but it's nowhere near where I live, and even if it is anywhere near I live, it's like in a town or two away, and I don't want to drive all the way to get some Dairy Queen, and I really want to try out their ice cream. But I guess I never will get a chance to try out Dairy Queen, and that's fine. And then you have like a local ice cream parlor shop, and you support your ice cream parlor shop all the time because it's like, well, has good and amazing ice cream. Then Dairy Queen winds up being built like the other side across town, okay? And and now you finally got a chance. You finally had a chance to try out some Dairy Queen. But instead, you believe this Dairy Queen stuff is bad because it's gonna kick your smaller business off the site block. And now you're like really, really mad about it. You're like, no, I'm not gonna. No. And you're trying to steer everybody away from like, guys, no, do not eat the Dairy Queen. This ice cream parlor is much better than Dairy Queen. All right, it's much more better. Trust me, 110% much more better than Dairy Queen. And you just everybody just like looking at you like you're a crazy madman. It's like, dude, we're just gonna have some Dairy Queen. Like Dairy Queen is good with selling like its sundaes and its Frosty Blasts and all that jazz. But they also have like more than just ice cream. They have food. And some of us may want to try its food. No, but you don't understand. Dairy Queen is bad. You want to have this ice cream parlor. And guess what? You're blocking yourself from wanting to enjoy an experience of just trying out a Dairy Queen Blizzard, okay? And you've been wanting to try one out for a long time, or one of their Frosties or whatever. No, Frosties would belong to Wendy's, never mind. But still, and it's like you have like and then you can get like another guy who's never had Dairy Queen before, but he had your ice cream parlor before, and he goes over and tries Dairy Queen, and he's like, Dairy Queen's ice cream is not bad. It's actually pretty good. I want to say it's better. But I would also say that our ice cream parlor still has better ice cream. And it's not because Dairy Queen is bad or the ice cream is tasteless. It's just that it just doesn't taste as good as the ice cream parlors. And then you got somebody who moves into town, all right? And he likes Dairy Queen. He enjoyed Dairy Queen, and he's new to this town, and he heard about this Dairy Queen. He's like, oh, okay, cool, this Dairy Queen. And he sees like this ice cream parlor, and he goes like, man, this ice cream parlor is stupid. All you need is Dairy Queen ice cream. If you want your best ice cream, you get Dairy Queen. So realistically, now you get two of these mad people. One about what everyone should be only eating at the ice cream parlor for their ice cream, and one person should believe that you should be eating at Dairy Queen for your ice cream. And you just got these two people that was like bickering back and forth, and hoping that one of these businesses leaves the town, basically. And that's not really like a good idea because it doesn't open your eyes or your experience. Ugh. Like, again, it may sound like it went on a tangent, but I hope my explanation seemed pretty well. And of course, there's the fact alone that, I hate having to say this, but I'm going to have to. So this is going to be a little bit sensitive. My apologies in advance. But another issue I find within our gaming industry that affects entirety of society is the inclusion of politics and minorities. And you may be wondering, oh, what about the wars? I consider that part as politics. Like, I don't want to be that type of person to be you're just trying to like silence us or you're being against us. I'm not. Trust me, I'm not. So I'm being very careful on how I word this. Personally, I don't understand like why they allow like politics stuff to be allowed as like usernames and stuff like that in certain games. Or they allow like the clan tags or whatever, or they actually have like political related items, and it's like not actually just like like standard like neutral ground like American flag, but rather it's like actual like politics stuff in the game. And unless we're talking about South Park, because that would make a lot of sense. But even then, it's not a great idea, and it's not that great of a concept either to do. So why are we doing such thing like that? Why are they doing such like that? Because it's trying to cause a further amount more of divide rather than unity. And I think I already explained on why divide is a pretty bad thing, because without a community, how is a society supposed to function if you're too busy dividing communities against themselves rather than, communicating with them and having communities unite together and unite with other communities? Then you know what was going to end up happening? Nothing bad is going to end up happening, because you're going to have a stronger sense of community. You're going to have more people on your back, and you're not going to be so anxious, believing and paranoid that everyone's is coming out to get you. Because that's what you have more community. But instead, we get examples of a disenfranchised community. Like, I'm not saying it's bad to represent pride and the LGBTQ. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that's horrible either. That is pretty good. That's pretty cool, because then it makes the cries of people who are fighting for recognition be heard in a gaming space. But then my question is, are you truly being hurt by the gaming space, or is it an excuse for them to make more money? Because that's my question. I look at Fortnite, and they don't do, and like every other game company, like they go out all the Pride stuff for Pride Month, but Fortnite does not do the Pride stuff. They do Rainbow Royale, and that's basically their celebration of Pride. But instead of doing it in June, so they don't capitalize off of it, they do it in September. They still sell you a skin. They still sell you a pickaxe. They still sell you a skin and a pickaxe for around like 1,200 V-Bucks and 800 V-Bucks, respectively. So almost like $20 for a skin and her pickaxe. And you get loading screens, you get sprays, you get stickers, and you got like a few emotes completely for free that you can purchase and you can give to other people, and banners as well while you're at it. But you still have a skin and you still have a pickaxe being sold that's supposed to be themed all around Pride. My question then is, should we be supporting something like that, or should we? Well, not. Let me rephrase that. Because this sounds like, oh yeah, you shouldn't be supporting like Pride. No. You should absolutely. Well, that depends on what you want to do. Personally, I see it as, well, if you're gonna bring like love together, you might as well show nothing but love. So yeah, that's what I see. If it comes down to the circumstance, I am not going to allow hate to be brought in here. Like I said, I'm trying to be very careful here. But should we realistically be like praising Epic Games because, like, hey, we're not capitalizing off of Pride Month, but we're capitalizing off of Pride Month just in September, and we're not doing like a huge like $40 bundles worth of items. And these are like the only time way you could get Pride items is within these $40 bundles of items. But yet again, you're kind of also like still selling, stuff of like a very big push onto that still. So my question is, like I said, is it really a good thing that they're doing this? Because if they were just doing every thing for free and they were acknowledging it, and that's all they did, then I feel like that's a perfect middle ground. I feel like it's pretty fine, because like, yeah, you're not doing more of it, but again, it's a really tricky place to try and do more with it regardless. But if you're like actively trying to capitalize off of it, because, well, you already know people are gonna like try to support Pride, and obviously with our society, unless you do go out all of your way to support something, you don't support it at all. So, you know what that puts in those companies' pockets? More money. And it's even worse because, like I said, because then you got people who are causing much more conflicts, like, oh, this game is horrible because of this and this and this. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, you're only saying that because this character is this. And a lot of people are going to be like, what? No! What? Because that's what, I think that's what one game company did. I think one game company stated that the reason why one game company, I don't remember which game company it was or what game it was. I actually might have to search it up. Let me search it up real quick. But I'm pretty sure there was a game company that said that people who were like playing the game and saying like they heavily disliked the game, they claimed that they were like homophobic or something like that. I think. Hold up. Game companies Dating gamers as homophobic. Let's see here. Okay, well, I can't find it. So perhaps I was wrong. I was wrong. Sorry, guys. My bad. My mistake. I admit that I was wrong on that thing because I looked in the because I searched it up real quick and I couldn't find anything. But yeah, I mean, and on top of that, a lot of people just like shut out the front door when it comes to that stuff too. Because like because at the end of the day, like, is it realistically proper representation? And this isn't just like, like this isn't like Pride or LGBTQ stuff, or like, other like very important movements such as BLM, or uh what is it? There's another like thing I'm trying to think of, or like protection or against like animal cruelty or whatever. Not like levels of PETA, obviously. Like all of that sensitive stuff. I don't like to call it sensitive stuff, but it is a very bit of a sensitive topic. So I hope you do understand when I call it as sensitive. I'm not calling it as an insult or like a derogatory term. I'm just saying like it's hard to discuss it without offending a side, and I want to stay as neutral as I possibly can, and I don't want to get into it. So like I said, it's not the main reason behind the stuff, and I kind of went on to that. It kind of felt like a main reason. So again, my apologies. I was just like trying to like notice it because someone was gonna bring that up. I already know somebody was gonna think about that and bring that up, and I decided that perhaps the best idea is to shut it down before it could possibly get worse, and I just made it worse myself. So yeah, I'm an idiot. 10 clash level moron. Regardless, I still don't believe that it is within the good of best interest, because all these game companies like they do stuff of monetization and say, oh yeah, we care about you and stuff, and it's only cares for like that specific month, okay, or like that specific moment in the community movement time. Excuse me. Like if I remember, like Hurricane Hella, I think it was called. Like what was it? Hold on, let me search it up. Most recent hurricane in the U.S. Idella? Milton. Okay, yeah, Hurricane Milton. That's what I was trying to remember the name of. Hurricane Milton is like the most recent disaster that's like really big and stuff. And like, yeah, you could argue about like that type of stuff. And no, like a gaming company is probably like, discussing or talking about that, but I'm just going to use it as an example. Because like gaming companies could be like, oh, like if you want to have donations towards her to the people in Hurricane Milta or whatever, like yeah, we'll help out. And it's like that for like and then you have this campaign for the 2 weeks, and then like they don't talk about it ever again. They don't discuss anything about it ever again. They took down the support page as well while they're at it. And what's even worse is that you wind up finding out that there are still people who are underneath that like issue. And yeah, they got enough support of their money, but they're not doing a whole lot anymore. It's like, well, we're only doing this for a good publicity stunt, and that's it. So yeah, and like I don't, yeah, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, the entire like market, no, the entire industry behind gaming is just like, again, not the best right now. It's really not. Like I said, video games are not bad. It's just the current video games we have, some of them are bad. Okay? Because people are getting like played around through emotions, and with their emotions, it gets into issues. These issues can then lead into society. Like you got somebody who believes they have no self-worth because they're not good at a video game, that's bad. If you have somebody who's has constant anger, who's constantly stressed out because they can't complete a battle pass, that's bad. If you have somebody if you're giving like somebody false hope about feeling about false hope about something, and obviously there's the fact of giving false hope is bad when they believe that hope is true, and going right on your back and just like stabbing them. stabbing them in their entire beliefs in the back. That's also really bad. The fact alone of also making it just like nothing but it has to be negative, there can be no positive reinforcement for the game or its community, is even worse. Because then it's like, oh, it has to be this or it can't be that. And this has to die because this needs to live. Even though, things could coexist. Things have coexisted for a while. So, what is my conclusion? What is my idea to solve these issues? How do we solve these issues? Well, that's tricky. That's the one thing I've been while I was trying to keep, the topic in the topic of my mind, my brain, or whatever. I was busy trying to keep the topic structured and not going on a tangent like for 40 minutes. I was kind of dreading answering this question. What do I think that could fix these issues? Is there even a way to fix these issues? Honestly, I believe there is a way. There is a way for everything. If it is willed by, demanding of making sure that can happen, I don't see it as a bad thing. I see it as it can happen. Here's how I see it, okay? If the... trying to remember, give me a second. If the... I can't remember, right? If the way we take care of, like, a negative reinforcement, the best way to get rid of that is by, well, not falling into negative reinforcement. I mean, think about it. So many people are stuck up with this entire thing where they have to, like, want the easy route, and if they can't have it the easy route, then they're, like, really bad, and, they just wind up finding themselves boring or not so content, and they're not realistically having very good time with their gaming. And on top of that, if they don't have a good time with their gaming, or they're having good time with their gaming, but in the wrong prospect, if you're, like, being very, crude and rude to people, and they're being extremely toxic, that's also not good for entirety of how we should be influencing our society. So what's the best way we take care of this? Well, it's simple. We do positive reinforcement, and you vote with your wallets, basically. I'm not saying you should boycott everything, because you're not going to make a company go broke. But if an entire community was to boycott, it could work as breaking down a game's infrastructure, but then, like, they're gonna double down harder. So what is the best choice is that you still want to continue supporting the game, then, like, you're basically just throwing a wet blanket against, like, a nuclear missile at that point. Like, that's not gonna work, mate. That's not gonna work, dude. So what can work? I'm just gonna say it right now. Just, like, don't play on your own time, and don't worry. Like, realistically, don't worry. The next battle pass, do you just say right there and go, like, do I want any of these items? Do I really want any of these items? And don't purchase the battle pass at all. And there's a few items you want in the battle pass, then just don't purchase the battle pass, so that at least you're not forcing yourself to finish it. If you wind up getting into the item, if you wind up completing the battle pass, or you wind up getting the item that you do enjoy, just purchase. Then at that point, purchase the item, the battle pass, and you don't have to worry because you already got the item you need anyways, and you won't feel that pressure to complete the rest of it. Oh, what about daily shops? Then just don't then check. Yeah, you can check the daily shop for an item you may like, but at the end of the day, just be content with what you got. If you really like your skin, like, being very, like, rainbow and kawaii pop while everybody else is rocking around in goth and dark, who's to say you should be joining them as dark and goth? Just, if you like being kawaii pop, be kawaii pop. I don't even understand what I'm saying with that. Just be, like, colorful. If you want to be colorful, be colorful. And just wait for more colorful stuff if that's what you want to wait for. Just be much more in tune of not getting everything because you feel peer pressure, but feel because you want to do so. And now when it comes down to, like, everything's life service and all these, like, practices and all this jazz, how can I defend back? How do I defend back against like, stuff that seem good on paper, but are really bad? Because, like, the two algorithms I've listed before, skill-based matchmaking and engagement optimization matchmaking. Skill-based matchmaking throws you into an area where it believes from computer and AI stats of skill with other players, which sounds good in theory, but then you're never gonna actually improve. And if you do, like, have a good match, then you're going to be put in a much more tougher lobby, and not like a lobby that's like slightly harder so you can prove more. No, you're going to be thrown like into like, it's basically going to be like a kitten and a cat facing off other kittens. And but yeah, it's like throwing a kitten to fight against a bunch of other kittens originally, and then like that kitten did pretty well in the fight. You know, like it's not a whole, you know, like not like a whole bloody battle. It's just like playful banter, and the kitten was really good. And then you throw that kitten against an entire field of tigers. What do you think is gonna happen to the kitten? That kitten's not going to survive. Okay. And like, sure, it's all but nothing but playful banter, but the kitten is going to be not wanting to go back, and so they're going to purposely not fight the other kittens, and to the best of their ability, and they're not going to have that much fun playing. Same concept applies here. If you do pretty good, you're going to wind up being thrown into an area you're not supposed to be in yet, and you're not going to know where you're improving because you can't understand where to learn, and you're going to be back against people or in your skill level. And then you have engagement optimization matchmaking, which makes everything worse. Because all it does is like it chooses the match layout to keep you engaged. It's like you're on your edge of the seat, waiting to see where like the music is slowly just like climbing up, and it just doesn't drop yet. That's basically what the feeling is, and you just have this entire intense seed that gets more and more intense, and you're like, your body just can't understand how to continue taking all this tension that the movie is building up for you. You know, like you can't and it's like you're expecting like the big drop to happen, and it seems like it's about to happen, and then it just gets higher, and it doesn't stop. Like this, like the drop is supposed to happen, like the coolest conclusion to this tense section of the scene or whatever. It's like it looks like it's about to happen, and then it goes right back up again. It goes up higher, in fact, double the height. And it's like really hard to even like justify that, because it's like, how? How do we keep going with this? How do we keep getting away with stuff like this, you know? And it's worse because that's all it does. It tries to keep your edge on your seat, keep your peak interest, loss after loss after loss. Ooh, there may be too many losses. Gotta throw him in a win. Maybe another win, and then loss and a loss and a loss. Like, it's just there to just toy with you at that point, to keep you engaged as long as possible. Best way to escape these systems? Play games that don't have them. If a game or something like that doesn't have, you know, like won't outright say if they have skill-based matchmaking or, you know, engagement optimization matchmaking, be wary and just like, nah, my skill is not, like, you know, equate. And like I said, XDefiant doesn't have any skill-based matchmaking. Trust me, I would know. I'm getting my butt handed to me consistently, all right? And there's times where I've actually been able to fight against, you know, people who are not so good at the game. So, like, you know, it is a good time. It is a good time. And I don't have an issue when it comes to, like, fighting against people against me that are better and XDefiant, but when it comes to engagement optimization systems or, you know, or skill-based matchmaking, that's the times I get mad. So probably because I believe that I'm supposed to be doing this stuff at my skill level, but yeah, I still can't beat them despite them being at my skill level. So that's how I get mad. I think that's probably I think that's probably like the best explanation behind that. And again, you may be wondering, okay, so how does this affect, again, society? Because think about it here for a second. If people are not stressed out by a stupid game or whatever, okay, and they don't see like gaming as like the only way they can succeed, and they don't take gaming extremely serious, okay, then like they're gonna have a much more relaxing time. They're gonna relax playing a game they want to enjoy and they want to relax on. And having somebody much more relaxed actually calms them down, and if they're calm, they're going to be much more open. They're not going to be, and on top of that, they can also be less blindsided, because again, like, they're not so like, it's like this has to be the only thing, because if you're going to be exploring other games, it's going to open up your mind a bit more to more opportunities to more games, and you'll be much more like feeling much more safe by being more open, I think. But the main issue with the gaming industry is that its entire thing is meant to like keep you constrained into your seat, to like not be really that great towards other people and not be great towards, you know, yourself. And if you're not great to yourself, then how are you going to be great to other people? And if you're great to yourself and you're still not great to other people, then you're just kind of a bit of a jerk. But it also depends on how those other people treat you. And if you are great with other people, if you're great to yourself and you're great to other people, and those people are great to themselves and they're great with other people like you, then that's a pretty good, strong bond of community. You want a good, strong, healthy bonds of community, because then it opens up for more it opens up for more doors. More doors is amazing, and it's great. And, as they would have to say, opening it up more is, a good idea. Opening up those doors forever will be a good idea. In fact, sorry guys, I had a bit of yawning there. But in fact, I believe the best way to help out in our society and what's wrong with the gaming industry is that we gotta have the gaming industry return back to what it once was. A passion art project, not meant to manipulate you and not meant to squeeze every dollar dry. Just make it on a fun, simple game that's fun to build a community around and be extremely extremely fun to play, have a good, healthy community to be around. Or yeah, there is some criticism about the game, and sure, there's a bit of times where people get mad, but there's not a whole lot of force stuff is being forced to it. The best community I think I've seen yet, that if we were to replicate this community across all of gaming, and we were able to have that influence onto to everybody that plays video games to help influence more of our society, we'd be a lot better. I 100% see that. And what game am I going to be talking about? Deep Rock Galactic. Deep Rock Galactic's community is by far the most nicest community I've ever seen. By far, it's the most welcoming and the most nice community. Yeah, they'll make fun of you if you drink a leaf blower, before a leaf blower before your mission. To descend down into the mines as a dwarf, obviously. Sorry, voice is starting to not really work. Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, they're by far the most welcoming and very hospital? No, whatever. The most nicest community I've seen ever in gaming. They're really cool. They're really amazing. And I feel like if we had that community spread everywhere, we would have a very positive influence towards a lot of areas. And this positive influence is going to be much more better off for, again, our society. Because if everyone is positive and they can work well together, and video games, who's to say they can't do that in real life with other people who are willing to hear them out, willing to be positive towards other people. And what's even better is that, again, this gaming industry stuff, gaming industry is bad for our society because in the state it is right now, because it's much more an influence on being much more negative, because it doesn't realistically care about you. It cares about it, your money. And when it comes down to the point where it does not care about you at all, that's going to become a major issue. Because then you're going to feel because then you're not going to have priorities to keep you entertained to the best of ability to help you. It becomes more of a stress job, like a second job, and you don't want a second job. Okay, that's something you don't want. All right, people who have second jobs, they can tell you how much they don't like having a second job, and the second job is you playing a game. You're not even getting paid for that job either, which sucks. So, my closing thoughts on this episode and overall coming back to this podcast series. Basically, I think the issue with our gaming industry is the fact that we just don't have a good sense of community anymore. We're not really a good sense of community. We just don't have a good sense of how to appreciate and treat ourselves to what we should be doing, which is enjoying the games we play, instead of being toxic towards each other, instead of being ridiculed towards each other, instead of saying, no, this game has to live, or else, and if any other game exists, then that needs to die, or else this one will die. This mentality that only one can remain when things have consistently coexisted. This entire mentality of that you got to worry about something that you shouldn't be worrying about because you're getting put the wrong influence, because that wrong influence winds up helping support more negative thoughts and allows more money flow, obviously. And just overall, I think the best way for us to just help out each other is to just remove all of it. Realistically, just get away from it if you can, and to just focus on just one thing about gaming. Don't focus about everything else on gaming. Just focus one thing when it comes down to gaming. Having fun. And having good, positive fun. If your fun is being mean to people, maybe you should take a step back and play by yourself for a little bit. So that way you can figure out what is the fun in gaming again. And and for the people who haven't tried gaming, but you have been watching this entire episode or listening to it or whatever, what advice do I have to give to you? Well, don't think like gaming is not a bad thing. Don't think gaming is like the worst thing to ever come out. And I would recommend trying a few games yourself. And like if you are having frustration with those games, then don't continue playing them. And just try to see if you can find like some good relaxing method of playing those games, okay? And just stick with that for a bit. And that's not bad of a thing at all. It's not bad at all to think about. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there's anything else left. So I might as well go ahead and wrap this up. So that was that is what is wrong in today's age and society. Yes, I know I'm kind of like messing up a lot of my words here, but that's because I haven't done this in like a year and a half right now. And this is the most I've talked in like an hour, consistently talking to a microphone and hoping to record for an episode. So, yeah. So what are we going to do for our next episode? Episode 5. Well, I'm actually have a few ideas, and I'm planning on seeing if I can get a guest for episode 5. Episode 5 is going to be talking much more, and is going to actually have some video game talk in it as well, but it's going to be mainly talking on a much more larger scale that's past video games. But yeah, like I said, I think the best solution to our society to fix the video game industry is just killing off the negative parts of the industry and just focusing more on the positive outlets of what gaming can provide, rather than the negatives of what gaming has brought to us. Other than that, this has been the Captain speaking, and I'll see you all on the next episode. Have a good day, everybody.